This demonstrates what we see so often here at the border: coyotes and guides making money off of each other.
Hi guys, welcome back to my Battletech run.
That happened here in the river.
Just starting a mission here.
Matt, thank you very much for the coverage at the border in Eagle Pass today. Let's bring in Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Republican Dan Patrick. Always good to see you, sir. Thank you very much.
Good to see you, Martha.
So, are you you're gonna keep putting up this wire, and how much can you put up? Because I know you say that you believe it is working to keep people from crossing the border. You've got a 1,200
Okay.
you say it is the space of Atlanta to Portland, Maine. So people can picture that. Imagine people pouring across the border from Georgia to Maine. I don't think a lot of states along the way would put up with it. What is your intention in terms of securing your border now, given this directive?
We are putting up wire, Martha, everywhere we can. We will continue. We will not stop. If they cut it, we will replace it. I was down there Friday with our troops to thank them, support them, and also to stand with them in the event the Biden administration did send Border Patrol there. Wisely, they did not. We're thankful they did not. We don't want a confrontation, but we want this border secure. And in this area of Shelby Park, Martha, a few months ago, 3,000 people a day were crossing. Now it's virtually zero crossing in that area. So we've proven we can do that with the Trump wall. And remember, Trump had the border security. The president had the border secured the last year of his administration. And we were building the wall. We're now taking that on ourselves because the Biden administration stopped building the wall. And the idea that the Biden administration would want to stop us from securing the border tells you all you need to know about their goals. And on the last guest you had on the topic today, prayers go out to those soldiers in Jordan. Everywhere this president, Biden, moves, death comes with it. Fentanyl across the border, people drowning in the river, people killed here by MS-13, soldiers killed by the car. This president is weak, and in November he will be replaced by Donald Trump, I believe, because the people of America have enough.
So you talk also about the people on the Americans on our side of the border who are working with the cartels. Yes. It blows my mind that they have this huge business operation. We see the coyotes running people across. We see them, sort of giving everybody the high five or the salute. Like, here comes another group of people. And they have Americans. You said 90% of the 13,000 smugglers who have been caught bringing drugs to the country are Americans. So why don't we hear about this from the President of the United States? And why isn't someone cracking down on this freewheeling business that is making all of these people millions and probably billions of dollars?
Well, I think I broke that story this weekend.
Waiting for order.
And I don't think people knew that number. 13,163 people that we've apprehended as smugglers. Texas. And 95% are American citizens. The cartels are working with the gangs, the street gangs in America, not only to move their drugs, but they're literally sending them GPS coordinates to match up with the people they're sending across the border. And the cartels have it made. They get paid from the people that they're pushing across the border. And then if the gangs don't show up and pick them up, well, then they don't have to pay the gangs. And if the gangs do, they get paid a certain amount once they deliver them to their places. Remember, this president is not interested in securing the border. He doesn't care about that. And we did pass a new law this year in Texas. If you're caught smuggling, you're an American citizen, minimum 10-year sentence. So we're on it.
Very interesting to see if that has an impact. Dan, obviously, a lot to talk to you about.
Happy back.
I hope you come back soon.
Anytime.
Thank you, sir.
I know it's a busy day today.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So,
Reporting vehicle
whether a bombshell admission today from a juror who helped convict Alec Murdaugh of murdering his wife and son is enough to get him a new trial. That is next.
Was your verdict influenced in any way by the communications of the court before?
Move to position.
I suffer with psoriatic arthritis and psoriasis. I was on a journey for a really long time to find some relief. Cosentix works.
Cosentix helps real people get real relief from the symptoms of psoriatic arthritis or psoriasis. Serious allergic reactions, severe skin reactions that look like eczema, and an increased risk of infections. Some fatal have occurred. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, add a vaccine or plan to, or if IBD symptoms develop or worsen.
I move so much better because of Cosentix.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentix.
Clogged gutters can cause big problems fast.
Call 833 Lead Filter today for your free gunner inspection.
I had terrible plumbing problems on the porch. Now I understand why.
Right now, Lead Filter is offering a free inspection on your schedule. Lead Filter is a permanent gutter solution, so you never have to worry about costly damage from clogged gutters again.
I hear ya.
And schedule your free inspection. To schedule your free inspection, call 833 Lead Filter today or visit
Don't need to
leadfilter.com.
tell me twice.
Once retired, Marcus decided I will never again work for another man or woman. I abandoned my corporate farm plan, and I'll get a new plan with consumers selling for up to half the cost. Let's go, Burns.
Got it.
Freedom for
Skating for over 45 years has taken a toll on my body. I take Qunol turmeric because it helps with healthy joints and inflammation support. Qunol, the brand I trust.
Position confirmed.
Introducing Qunol Joint Health with turmeric, Type 2 collagen, and more.
Best thing I've ever done. That's what Freddie told me.
Best thing I've ever done, and yes, without a doubt. I don't have any anxiety about money anymore.
Great people. Different people,
Target
that's for
acquired.
sure. And all of them had different reasons for getting a reverse mortgage. But you know what?
Might be
They
some
all
good
felt
solid
the
there.
same about two things. They all
I've been
worked their
central
home,
lock.
and they all wanted to stay in that home.
If you're 62 or older and own your home, you can access your
Minor
equity
damage,
to improve
Commander.
your
Nothing
lifestyle.
to see
A
here.
reverse mortgage loan eliminates your monthly mortgage payments and puts tax-free cash in your pocket. Call 800-721-5341.
Why don't you call AAG and find out what a reverse mortgage can mean for you?
Call right now to receive your free no-obligation info kit. Call 800-721-5341. 800-721-5341. Exposing the migrant crisis inside the documentary following the route from Ecuador to the U.S.
Decided to follow the ground myself.
on an exclusive prime time.
You've got a competitive advantage here. Central engine or special materials. Four-wheeler? Two-wheeler, right? You can't beat them with a normal car. Yes, we can. You should drive it. Welcome to the opening of the 51st Multi-Column Valley.
Flying is a dangerous sport. Does anything frighten you?
Lizzie, I'll do whatever I have to do.
That guy will never win against me.
Walter, it's now ready for the first push.
Good to go.
Alcoholics Anonymous. We're here to help. For more information, visit AA.org and download the meeting.
When an impaired driver killed my brother DJ, my life changed forever. During the pandemic, all of our lives changed, and many of us turned to alcohol and drugs to cope. As life returns to normal, the
Waiting for
increase in
orders.
substance use from COVID has lingered, and some police
Copy
services
that.
report an increase in impaired driving that caused heartbreak and devastation. Now, more than ever, we need your commitment to never drive impaired, and to encourage all of your family and friends to do the same. Together, we can save lives.
Firing.
Convicted murderer Alex Murdaugh back in a South Carolina courtroom today, seeking a brand new trial in his murder conviction.
What do you need?
His team said that back in March, Rebecca Hill, the clerk of court, influenced the jury and found him guilty in the killings of his wife and son. You're about to hear the voice of a juror who says that she was swayed by the clerk of court, Hill, Rebecca Hill.
Was your verdict influenced in any way by the communications of the clerk of court in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And how was it influenced?
Locked on.
To me, it felt like
Okay.
Negative damage.
she made it seem like he was already guilty.
Did that affect your finding of guilt in this case?
Get you in here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so a short time later, Hill testified that she never made statements to sway the jury, but she said she did give them what she called a pep talk. It's sometimes hard sitting a long time. But my usual,
Waiting
and I
on
do
you,
remember
Commander.
saying, pay attention, it's a big day today. Whatever you need, let Mr. Bill know.
Moving
Or
out.
the other bailiffs, and they'll be glad to get it for you. Pastor Green, Judge Shapiro, co-host of The Five. It's great to have you with us today. What do you make of this? There are a couple of jurors who said that you influenced them. The rest all answered the questions, no ma'am, there was no influence. Well, what's interesting is that the other jurors apparently heard the same thing and said they were not influenced by it. Look, the worst thing that can happen to a prosecutor after a big case is decided is some juror deciding for some reason that they can't sit with the verdict. And whether it's remorse or they feel guilty themselves or maybe they're having second thoughts. That's why courts generally do not look kindly upon this kind of thing. And this hearing was very unusual, even in South Carolina. The whole thing is unusual. The court clerk obviously is in a position where she would benefit by a guilty verdict in her eyes. She wouldn't get a big deal if there were a mistrial or a not guilty. But the question is, are statements like, watch his actions, watch him closely, that's my pep talk, today's the big day. To me, that's not so offensive. Well, when my court clerks lie to jury, I wouldn't dare talk to the jury. Would not dare talk to one of my juries. But it is gainsayed by the fact that the juries were individually asked at the time of the verdict in March of 2023, do you agree with this verdict? Individually, yes, 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 yes. And then again, is the verdict of murder? Is that your verdict? Yes, 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 yes. And from March to now, here we are in January. It's like, oh no, I was swayed. She made me feel like he was guilty. And then she comes out and she says the other 11 jurors made me feel like I had to join in with guilty. Well, that happens all the time when 11 on one, and she'll finally agree, or else she can stand her ground. So, one way or the other, if the judge decides that this case was affected by the court clerk, then they've got to have a new trial, or the prosecution will appeal. Or if the judge says, no, I'm not going to have a new trial, it's going to be appealed. In either place, there's going to be a problem. And this is the last kind of thing, and I'm always skeptical of it. None of us want this. And I'm not so sure things like it's a big day is so problematic. But there is one statement that bothers me. If indeed, the court clerk said, do not be fooled by the evidence presented by the defense, new trial. Yeah. And you know what? Intonation is so significant too, right? When she's up on the stand, she says, well, I just said, watch him closely.
What can I do
because
for
you want to pay attention, right? But the jurors have suggested that she was saying, watch this guy because he's going to try to fool you. So, I mean, that also comes into play in terms of how influenced they were, right?
Tell me what to do.
I mean, that's why we have a hearing as opposed to a decision based upon just motion papers. Because then they can come in and say, she said it in a way, just as you did so eloquently, where it can change their mind. Attorneys want to just open this door, just the tiniest bit. If they can get their foot in the door, you say they're going to have the opportunity for appeals or to keep this process going as possible. Then the lawyers get paid, and the thing goes on, right? And in the second jury, he won't look as badly as he did lying as he did to the first jury. Good, thank you so much. You're welcome. We know you have a big show on the 5 tonight.
What's up, Bob?
Thank you very much. So Outkick's Charlie Arnold with a lot to say about how Taylor Swift Mania is about to take over the Super Bowl.
Brought it
And why the
down.
Biden campaign is hoping to capitalize on
I hear
Taylor's
ya.
stardom. Next.
I read you, Commander. Moving out. Got it.
With thyroid eye disease, I hid from the camera, and I wanted to hide from the world. For years, I thought my TED was beyond help. But then, I asked my doctor about Tepezza. Tepezza is the only medicine that treats TED at the source.
Waiting
not
on
just
you,
the
Commander.
symptoms. In a clinical study, more than 8 out of 10 patients taking Tepezza had less eye bulging. Tepezza is an infusion and may cause infusion reactions. Tell your doctor right away if you experience high blood pressure.
Roger that.
That's
Firing on target.
If tell your doctor if you have diabetes, IBD, or are pregnant or planning to become pregnant. Tepessa may raise blood sugar and hypertension. Tepessa may cause severe hearing problems, which may be permanent. Now, I'm ready to see it. Visit mytepessa.com to find a TD eye specialist and to see Bridget's before and after photos.
DirecTV Sports Central brings your game stats and scores together. And now you can get it without a satellite. One more reason to finally get rid of cable. But getting rid of the cable guy might not be as easy.
Visit DirecTV.com for a $200 reward card.
That first time you take a step back
I made that.
with your very own online store,
I sold that.
and you can manage it all in one place.
I built it.
And it was easy with a partner that puts you first. GoDaddy.
The 1878 to 1921 Oregon silver dollar, a true American classic and one of the most iconic silver dollar coins in history. It has been over 100 years since the last Oregon silver dollar coin was struck for circulation, but now, for a limited time only, full pound bags of original U.S. government struck Oregon dollars are being released to the public. That's right, you can own a full pound of 1878 to 1921 classic American Oregon silver dollar coins, all in very good collector condition. Fully visible dates and mint marks guaranteed. Call 1-800-333-2210 now to secure collector-grade U.S. Morgan silver dollars by the pound, struck during the Wild West and the Gilded Age. Plus, receive a bonus American Collector's Pack valued at over $25 free with every order. Call 1-800-333-2210 now to secure your full pound bag of Morgan silver dollar coins before they are gone. 1-800-333-2210. That's 1-800-333-2210.
My name is Liz. I was a nurse for 40 years, and I'm still working in the health field. Balance of nature is the first thing I do when I wake up.
Here we go!
I'm a registered nurse, and I take balance of nature. I really love gardening. I love being outdoors, and I love watching things grow. I believe in balance of nature, and I really love it.
I love gardening. I go out every day. I like getting dirty. When I first came here, the backyard was more or less down, and I sort of filled it in with all the plants that I love. And I love seeing them grow.
Get your mask. The Alzheimer's mask. Coming in
I
hot.
don't feel 87 years old. I feel like a kid.
Target building. The Target Year's offer will end on January 31st. Order today to get 35% off plus a free fiber and spice supplement with your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code Fox News. Mission successful.
Excellent.
They turn to BizTube to fund what's next. From fitness studios to medical offices and every small business in between, we've got you covered. Whether you need new equipment, funds to expand, or need money to cover unforeseen business expenses, BizTube Credit is the trusted partner for your small business funding needs. Scan the code on your screen now or go to biztubecredit.com to apply. BizTube Credit, funding what's next.
So there's no doubt that voter turnout is only a big factor in elections, and it will be in November. Now, one nonprofit back in 2020 received hundreds of millions of dollars from Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is taking some unusual steps to get out the vote. Correspondent Mark Meredith gives us the backstory here from Washington. Hi, Mark.
Martha, good to see you. A Chicago-based nonprofit, the Center for Protecting Civic Life, wants to help states get money from FEMA, the disaster agency, so states get help running their elections. But FEMA officials tell Fox they don't think that's going to happen. The Federalist, the news outlet, reports it obtained a newsletter from CTCL dated this month, which appears to show the group reaching out to election officials nationwide, basically offering to show them how to apply for FEMA grants, which would allow those states to potentially access hundreds of millions of dollars to run elections. The group says it'll provide inspiration for what the money could be used for. So we reached out to CTCL to see what's going on. It tells Fox, quote, FEMA grants are an opportunity for election departments to make their operations more resilient against natural disasters so they can deliver safe, secure, and accessible elections. So the group's not denying it's offering to help states with these grant requests. In the past, Republicans were critical of this group, labeling it left-leaning. But perhaps what's more bizarre, FEMA told us today that this doesn't make any sense to them. A FEMA official telling Fox GRIT, which is the grant program they're talking about, specifically funds natural hazard risk reductions for natural disasters, floods, wildfires, earthquakes. It does not fund projects for election security. This is also not the first time that CTCL has come under the microscope
Some lawmakers said they were shocked at just how much money, more than $350 million, Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg sent the group back in 2020 for Get Out the Vote efforts. In 2022, a spokesperson for Zuckerberg at the time told the Associated Press that that money was a time. About this group ever since.
Well, thanks for reporting on it. Obviously, we need a lot of transparency in terms of where the money goes in the election process. And I think it's something that everybody needs to be aware of. So, Mark, thank you very much, Mark Meredith in Washington. So, you know, you can't turn on the TV, scroll through your phone, watch a football game. Oh my gosh, there they are. Without seeing her, Taylor Swift is only getting bigger, and now boyfriend Travis Kelce has gone to the Super Bowl. It is reaching such a fever pitch that she is reportedly at the top of the Biden campaign's wish list for 2024 surrogates. And the idea was even tossed around to send the president to a stop on her Eras tour. Let's bring in Outkick.com host Charlie Arnold. Charlie, thank you very much. You know, she has sent out tweets before supporting Joe Biden, so they're not necessarily barking up the wrong tree here. That could happen.
Yeah, she endorsed him in 2020. She definitely doesn't look wishy-washy, but actually it's funny. You and I, before we started this segment, we both said that we were cheering for the opposite team, the Ravens, to beat out the Chiefs, just because we have had enough of Taylor Swift for now. But here's the facts. Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl, and now there's an online plea circulating that is begging people to become Niners fans for the next 2 weeks. So it doesn't raise Travis Kelce, a.k.a. Mr. Pfizer, star power, along with, of course, Taylor Swift, because it is so scary. There was a recent poll. 1/5 of Taylor Swift fans said they would back whichever candidate that she endorsed. You know, let's be honest, a lot of her fan base are 15-year-old girls who can't vote anyways. A lot of the others are already liberal women who would support the DNC no matter what. But there's a lot of other people who need to be careful because she doesn't do what she says. Like, for example, yesterday, she flew private from New York City to Baltimore. Yet she constantly talks about climate change. So just please don't believe everything Taylor Swift says. We're all begging you.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that was one of my first thoughts. I'm sure it was a lot of people's first thought. And there are obviously a lot of Taylor Swift fans out there. They can't wait to get more of this. We saw them at the last game Kansas City played. They had 40 million people watching. Now, a lot of those are going to be Taylor Swift fans for sure. So, I mean, you know, I think that she has an enormous impact. But I think, you know, a lot of people are just still are way more excited for the Super Bowl now than they ever would have been before.
Oh, absolutely.
And she's not even sitting at a halftime, I suppose.
She will not sing at halftime, although there is the fear that Travis Kelce could propose to her if they end up winning on the field. That's another rumor that's making, you know,
that would be so private and cozy of him.
Right? Oh, I know, but I could totally see it happening. But Taylor Swift, tons of influence. Last year, she put up an Instagram post. In one post, she was able to get 35,000 people to register to vote. So her reach, tremendous, and her fan base has only grown since then. Right now, 297 million followers on Instagram for Taylor Swift.
I wouldn't be surprised if the president showed up at a stop on the Eras tour.
Oh, that's a new campaign trail, right? It's the Eras tour, which listen, he needs all the help he can get right now.
I think it's going to Canada, though, next.
I bet 18 and 29-year-old is 27%, I believe. So he needs to do whatever he can if he hopes to defeat President Trump in the upcoming election.
You know, we've watched. I mean, you can't try not to get away this whole thing flying. I know everyone says they're going to get engaged, but you've watched a lot of ups and downs in your love life, and every one of them has a song to go with it, right? So
I don't know what to believe, Martha, because I remember coming on the set with you months ago, and we were talking about Taylor Swift at the beginning of the romance, and I said, I don't believe it, I am not buying it, and here we're sitting. And honestly, I'm buying it. I believe it now. I mean, things have seemed to have gotten very serious with them. She's constantly sitting with his mother, with his father. She met his brother the other day, who you saw probably shirtless, chugging beers in the crowd at the playoff games.
I love that, actually. I think his brother, Jason, is hilarious.
And he just retired, so now he can be the best, you know, man of honor or whatever it's called in their wedding coming up, because he has all the time on his hands.
Really, thank you. Two more weeks of this to be sure. We'll see if there is an engagement, a proposal at halftime, or maybe she just has to say, who knows what's happening.
We'll check in after the Super Bowl, Martha.
All right, we're going to thank you so much, Charlie. Always great to see you. We just want to go over to
Boy.
Anthony right now, who is speaking about the loss of 3 U.S. service members and how we are responding in the Middle East. And he's talking actually now about the UN agency that we now discovered has many people who were working for Hamas and even were involved in the October 7th attack. So, enormous response to that. Let's listen to that.
It reviewed its procedures. I had a very good conversation with the Secretary General of the United Nations Guterres
last week when we were first made aware of these allegations. And we're going to be looking very hard at the steps that UNRWA takes, again, to make sure that this is fully and thoroughly investigated, that there's clear accountability, and that as necessary, measures are put in place so that this doesn't happen again, so that the allegations are fully borne out. Certainly, we haven't had the ability to investigate them ourselves, but they are highly, highly credible. At the same time, as you indicated, UNRWA continues to play an absolutely indispensable role in
10 agencies have been overseas. We'll stay on top of that story till in turn covering it today at the State Department. And we also want to share with you, we do now have images of these 3 U.S. Army soldiers killed while they were sleeping in their barracks by an Iran-backed drone attack in Jordan from left to right. 46-year-old Sergeant William Rivers, 24-year-old Specialist Kennedy Sanders, and 23-year-old Specialist Brianna Moffett. May they rest in peace. We're grateful for their service, and we have their Gold Star families now in our hearts and prayers today. That is the source. I will see you back here tomorrow for more.
Yes, Commander?
U.S. forces, and we will take all necessary actions to defend the U.S. and our troops.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's first day back at the Pentagon, promising action in response to that drone strike that killed 3 Americans and injured dozens of others. Intelligence officials are blaming the drone strike on Iran-backed rebels. Now, Iran says not so, but House Intelligence Committee Chair Mike Turner here to say not so fast. And he's not the only one saying that Iran is at war with us, so we better wake up to the reality. But like it or not, we are at war with Iran. First, Fox team coverage of Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon, where a briefing just wrapped up. Jackie Heinrich at the White House, where that pressure is now, well, building up. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Pivotal. Let's go first to the Pentagon. That's where you'll find our Jennifer Griffin with the very latest. Jennifer.
Neil, we now know the identities of the 3 American Army Reserve soldiers killed in Jordan. Specialist Kennedy Layden Sanders of Waycross, Georgia, a soldier with the 718th Engineering Company, a U.S. Army Reserve unit based out of Fort Moore, Georgia. She was just 24 years old and was killed along with Sergeant William Jerome Rivers, 46, of Carrollton, Georgia, and Specialist Brianna Moffett, age 23, of Savannah, Georgia.
We don't want a war with Iran. Again, these are Iran proxy groups launching these attacks on our service members, but we certainly don't seek a wider conflict, but we also own the clock here, and we will respond at a time and place of our choosing.
A U.S. official tells Fox News a U.S. drone was returning to the Tower 22 logistics base at about the same time the Iranian proxy attack drone was incoming, which caused confusion, allowing the defensive forces at the base to fail. The Iranian drone was flying low, which also allowed it to evade the defenses. A senior U.S. official tells me there was a combination of human error and technical failure that led to the tragedy. The number of wounded, 40, 8 needing medical evacuation. Those numbers could rise, we're told. The Iranian proxy drone was mistaken for the U.S. drone, which was expected to return to the base at the same time. Sunday's attack was the 165th attack by Iranian proxy forces targeting U.S. troops in Iraq, Syria, and now Jordan. Iran says it was not responsible. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin briefed the president and his national security team in the Situation Room at the White House today. Austin returned to the Pentagon for the first time since undergoing prostate surgery on December 22nd and spending 2 weeks at Walter Reed following complications. He met with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg this morning.
Let me start with my outrage and sorrow for the deaths of 23 U.S. troops in Jordan and for the other troops who were wounded. The President and I will not tolerate attack on U.S. forces.
There are fewer than 4,000 U.S. troops in Iraq and Syria and 350 American troops at Tower 22 on the Jordanian-Syrian border near Iraq. The Iranian proxy drone hit U.S. troops while they were sleeping in their barracks. The U.S. Treasury Department announced today, Neil, it was sanctioning an Iraqi bank for laundering Iranian money for Iraqi proxy militias who keep attacking U.S. troops. Neil.
kind of agreement of the Pentagon and you. So now what the White House will do, or what it's planning to do, they're not really saying much just now, but they're going to guys from the White House.
Well, Neil, officials here say the president does not need congressional approval to do whatever comes next, citing Article 2 of the Constitution, and the president has promised that the U.S. will respond. Iran is saying that it is not responsible for this, and even though officials here today flatly rejected that idea, saying they do bear some responsibility, they have also indicated at the White House that they're not keen on this idea of striking targets inside Iran as some congressional called for, repeatedly saying in response to that question that the U.S. is not seeking war with Iran and not looking to escalate. Some of the president's critics say this apparent doctrine of appeasement makes President Biden responsible, partly for the deaths of these 3 soldiers.
When you're trying to play defense constantly, rather than punching back in a meaningful way, this blood is on this administration's hands, period. And they need to take responsibility for it. Bigger picture, we're shooting down these $30,000, $40,000 drones with $2 to $3 million missiles. It's not sustainable.
But officials here deny that President Biden has not responded strongly enough in the past.
It's clear, obviously, that domes didn't work. Did the president committing regret over not punching back harder in any of the prior responses that he's taken to these proxy attacks on U.S. forces?
But I think I would push back on the idea that we did push back harder. That we have taken significant action against Iran economically. We have certainly taken some additional and more aggressive steps to go after these groups.
Kirby went on to say that the president will choose for himself how he wants to respond to yesterday's attack. He met this morning with his national security team in the Situation Room, including Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, back at work in person after treatment for prostate cancer. The White House is being pretty careful not to telegraph any punches that might be coming, but we're also watching for any news that the president has called the families of these fallen soldiers, or that he plans to attend the dignified transfer at Dover. The White House had nothing to read out on either of those questions when they were asked today, Neil.
Jackie Heinrich of the White House. Thank you, Jackie, for that very much. We're down to the House Intelligence Committee Chairman, what he wants to see happen next. Congressman Mike Turner with us now. Congressman, you've heard the administration is being coy, maybe rightly so. You don't want to tip your hand, but what do you think they should do?
Well, Neil, first off, you have the Secretary of Defense saying that we will not tolerate attacks on U.S. troops when, as you just saw in this report, over 150 attacks have occurred on U.S. troops in this very area. Iran through its proxies, Hamas attacking Israel, Houthis attacking Saudi Arabia, other attacks that have occurred in the area, their support for Hezbollah, they are funding and training and equipping a wider conflict. The problem here is that this administration has not been responding. You cannot, as Congressman Waltz just said, continue to play defense. Eventually, those that you're shooting down the missiles will find ways around your systems, and in the end, it will result in what we've just seen, which is the sad performance of the death of U.S. troops.
We've always gone after Iranian proxies like the rebels by trying to take them out in positions in Yemen and elsewhere. But do you think now is the time we go right to the source, Iran?
Well, the thing about Iran right now is that in addition to what's happening with the Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and the attacks that are occurring, and the rebels attacks that occurred on our troops in Iraq, Syria, and now Jordan, and of course the attacks that occurred on Israel, you also have their weapons showing up in Ukraine with their alliance now with Russia. Weapons in Ukraine that are Iranian are killing Ukrainian soldiers that are fighting to try to restore their country. This is a time, I think, where we actually look into what do we need to do to have Iran pay a price, not just their proxies. This has been a fool's game of their proxies. We need to go right to the source, and Iran needs to feel consequences.
All right to the source is Iran, right?
Absolutely.
So when you say we'll go to the source of Iran, you mean even if that means going into Iran?
I think it should be, certainly we should look at what we would target inside Iran that would make an impact. Certainly weapon systems, weapons productions. Certainly, we have to look at what we need to do ultimately with their nuclear weapons program as that's continuing to progress. But there are also weapons coming out of Iran have the support of Iran weapon systems, transportation systems. All of those are vulnerable and should be looked at also.
We don't talk as much. I know you have, Gentlemen, about the role of the Chinese and the Russians in being sort of backdoor players, not only with Iran, but other nefarious elements in the region. Those two countries will likely just get furious if we were to do some of the things that you said we should do, many have said we should have been doing a long time ago. What about the idea? This always
I don't know which one to choose, so I'll save.
that it turns into a world.
We'll continue it next time.
I don't think that's the case. I think what we're seeing here, though, certainly is a regional conflict. Iran is not going to stop. Their proxies, their attacks that they're occurring in groups. There has to be some consequences to Iran. So they're the ones that are being provocative. They're the ones that are expanding this. They're the ones that are attacking the areas that, of course, were on troops, resulting in the death of U.S. troops.
Alright, guys, we'll see you next episode. Alright, peace out.
Ohio Republican Congressman, House Armed Services Committee, and of course the House Intelligence Committee Chairman. A lot under his watch. Meanwhile, under